Namaskar. We waited for almost 10 days extra just to make sure that all of you are comfortable with Python, the basics of Python. As well, you are all comfortable with networking technologies. So appreciate being patient. Some of you have finished the task on way earlier than rest of them. But I wanted to take an opportunity to thank those who have attended this class on a continuous basis. They want to make passionately a career in cyber defense. And I'm very happy for those who could make it to this layer. Cyber is a journey of very passionate learners. It's not a normal engineering study. The reason is that it requires significant amount of patience and a very, very passionate journey for learning reverse engineering. So when it comes to offensive security, it's very important to know that offensive security is all about defending the perimeters, as well as many times if the adversary countries are trying to create a lot of nuisance, we should have the capability to knock them off. It's not a simple journey. It's a very complex learning process. 100 hours is a good to start a long drawn, passionate journey for learning cyber defense engineering. It's always important to be focused on this subject because it is not a normal study. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, the countrymen from across the country. And that is the reason why there is a significant amount of opportunity available for cyber defense engineers. Very handful of people, they really understand the length and breadth of this subject, cyber defense engineering. Today, world need almost 4 million good cyber defense engineers. The country is unable to produce more than 2,000 of them in real sense. Most of the corporate organizations, they hire people and then they put 2 years effort to make you learn one concept. And many times you pick up some threads, but you don't become cyber defense engineer. Because when you join a corporate, you are asked to perform the tasks which are important for them. That does not make you cyber defense engineer. Many times you are asked to operate the tools which has already been created by some defense research organizations. A large investment has been made on those products already. So you become an operator and not cyber defense engineer. My words can hurt many of the corporate friends and professionals, but reality of life is cyber defense engineering is not operating the tool, but rather creating the tools on a continuous basis. Cyber is a deep engineering problem, and it required continuous engineered solution. Point of time solutions which are purchased from the market cannot produce desired result and protect you against committed attacker. That's the reason if Fortune 2000 companies, more than 1,500 companies have seen the breach in the last 2 years' time, the reason is that these tools are not capable of stopping the determined intruders if they are determined to penetrate the impregnables. Boys and girls, we are going to cover the subject offensive Python today at length using Python. Python is an amazing, versatile programming language. A great scripting capability has been built on top of the C programming language. Those who wants to pick up the thread, how to become a good cyber defense engineer, there are many things that you need to learn, but Python makes your journey a lot easier. Comprehending the system engineering at length, comprehending assembly programming at length, comprehending the deeper part of kernel programming, comprehending the compilers, the way the compilers are written and the way the compiler behaves and misbehaves. Definitely, those are the finest skills that you need to acquire, become a passionate cyber researcher. But if you know all of them, and if you have Python or next generation Go language capabilities, you just outsmarts the rest of the market folks, those who are thinking cyber defense as a career, but end up becoming no more than an operator of the tools. So I'm very happy. Many of you have really thought through the journey of cyber defense engineering at many times earlier part of the life. I promise you, this session will provide you a good insights, a good stepping stones to start the journey for passionate cyber defense engineering. When it comes to the Python libraries, today I'm going to cover at length the different type of Python libraries and how it can be used for cyber defense engineering. And we'll go in depth of some of those libraries which are already built inside the Python, but many times lack of knowledge and lack of understanding those millions of libraries that is there built inside the Python, we tend not to use many of them. So today we'll try to uncover as much as possible, maybe around 100 libraries by the session ends today. So boys and girls, let's understand these Python libraries which can be used for offensive and defensive purposes. A word of caution, please remember that while this library can be used for ethical hacking purposes like pen testing and red team exercises, any unauthorized use of these libraries for hacking can lead to severe legal consequences. So while I'm teaching you something very fine, learning on many of these binaries and many of the libraries, my request to each one of you, those who want to learn this subject, comprehend the legal dimensions of hacking before embarking on the jungle of becoming a hacker. So Python for file input and output and system operations is a very important component of approach for academic purposes. Learning to read or write files and perform system operations in Python, we have picked up some of the thread in our past classes. Then the next important component is Python network programming. A good introduction to sockets, client-server communication, and basic network programming is prerequisite for becoming a cyber defense engineer. And Python provides a very good socket programming capabilities to connect to the network resources, to server resources, and it provides you an insight on basics of network programming to a very advanced level of network exploit writing. When it comes to the cyber defense, understanding the need of different types of threats and the overall landscape of cybersecurity, and then comprehending how these libraries can be useful for you and for your organization where you end up working, or maybe your organization where you want to create tools for cyber defense. These libraries will become a handy capabilities for you to start a new journey in cyber defense. Python libraries for cybersecurity are a very, very compact, almost every library can be used or misused for cyber defense as well as for offense purpose. So comprehending some of the capabilities like SCAPI, Nmap, PyCrypto, etc. for security testing and development purpose for positive side of it, but there are many negative side of it which you can utilize and misutilize these capabilities for offensive purposes. When you want to gather the information, you want to conduct a reconnaissance for information gathering, Python does provide you with good hooks which can be used for leveraging for IP lookup, domain name lookup, etc. Creating the scanning and enumeration capability is the first stepping stone for doing the reconnaissance and comprehending the environment where you want to do the attacks. It's possible to create and leverage existing libraries like Nmap and SCAPI for going much detailed reconnaissance operations using the built-in libraries of Python. You can even use it for vulnerability scanning, and nonetheless, you can do it for exploit writings and developing some vulnerabilities and wrapping it with different Py libraries. And that can be very handy for offensive purposes. Same time, if you want to do the post-exploitation, comprehending what went wrong, how to detect some cyber attacks, and how to do the postmortems, post-attacks, Python has got a bunch of libraries which can be used for doing the post-incident analysis. One of the tools like volatility, and there are many which can be used for basic to advanced operations for digital forensics as well as post-incident analysis. For those who wants to use offensives, even the password cracking capabilities, there are significant amount of libraries which are already available which can be used for cracking a passwords and doing a brute force attack and test the resilience of any organizations for red teaming purposes. At the same time, you can use these tools for actually doing the offensive operations across the networks if you have deep understanding of some of these libraries. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we'll try to cover it up as much as possible on libraries. It might be boring because it's a list of libraries I'm going to talk about it, but trust me, I have never seen a single video on YouTube or in any training so far where a bunch of this library has been discussed, narrated, and captured in one single place. It's a significant amount of research that has gone into the Python libraries before preparing this particular 2-3 hours of session. It might have taken around some 3,000-4,000 hours of work to really arrive at what you are seeing in the next 2 to 3 hours time. The network socket programming and many of the components of the libraries can be used for developing the basic intrusion detection systems. Same time, if you want to do the threat intelligence gathering, you can use a lot of scraping tools, data scraping tools, which can be very handy for you extracting data from websites, Twitter, Facebook, Twitterati, and many social media for gathering the potential threat intelligence information, actionable intelligence, which can become handy for your organizations for gathering those informations and using it for offensive as well as for defensive purposes. Python can even be used for web application testings, and we'll discuss some of those components as I take you to the realm of Python libraries today. As I'm just repeating it again for your benefit, Python provides significant amount of forensics and post-incident data analysis capabilities. And there are a bunch of libraries which can be used for many of the critical analysis that you require to carry it out without spending money on corporate off-the-shelf products, which comes in few crores if you want to have those tools in your organization. Same time, Python also provides the cryptographic libraries, which can be used for data protections and which can be misused for making a ransomware encrypted files. Python also has a deep machine learning and artificial intelligence libraries, and it can be very handy for comprehend the bot-based attacks, where the machine attacks your organizations. And when a man and woman is trying to protect against machine-based attack, it becomes impossible to protect. As you as a human being will take a break, machine does not take a break. Because of its persistence, many times the robotic attacks can lead to a definitive penetration within the organization. Time has come to equalize the battle between robots or machine-based attack to a machine-based response systems. Python has got significant amount of libraries of machine learning, which can be used in various type of logs, which can be syslogs, system logs. It can be your memory logs. It can be your any device logs, or it can be your deep packet inspections, S-flow and flow analytics. Python libraries for machine learning has got deep capabilities which can be used and leveraged for predicting an attack and foiling an attack before it attacks, cause a concern for the organization. Python libraries are rich even for the IT security purposes, and we'll try to explore some of them. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to all of you for today's session, Python libraries for offensive security. We are going to, the format of today's sessions is many of these capabilities which we'll be discussing page by page, libraries by libraries. Will give you some insights, and then how many of these libraries can be used for offensive and defensive purposes. And today we'll try to wrap it up at the end of the sessions with 100+ libraries which can be used for offensive and defensive purposes. You'll have the use cases available with you, and when you want to use these tools, there's built-in libraries, you'll be able to utilize it with the fullest potential. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, for today's session. SCAPI is a very interesting Python library for crafting and analyzing packets. While it can be used both for offensive as well as for defensive purposes. This library it enables the users to send, sniff, dissect, and forge network packets. So if you want to do a packet crafting to fool a packet inspections capability at the defender side, this can be a very handy way to create a custom packets to test network filters, IDS, IPS, and firewalls, and find if they can detect your actual packet information. It can be used for sniffing the capture network traffic for analysis. Suppose if you want to know more about your adversary, SCAPI can be a very handy tool for sniffing a lot of packet information from the adversary network and provide a very deeper insights about the organization in a very short span of time. It can be used for packet crafting. That means you can create custom packet to test, filter, IDS, IPS, firewalls, and you can bypass it even. It can be used for man-in-the-middle attack purposes. And you can even use SCAPI for not only doing the man-in-the-middle, but also temper the packets and forge the packets in the pipeline. SCAPI can be used for defenders to simulate attacks on their network, to test defenses, and monitor for certain packet patterns and comprehend whether this packet breach can happen. And the IDS, IPS, and packet analyzer, whether they are able to gather information about you. Nmap, I think we have done one sessions on it way back on the second day itself, just to give you an example how you can use Nmap. The word Nmap stands for network mapper. It's a free and open source tool for network discovery and vulnerability scanning. Nmap can be used for port scanning on the target systems. It precisely provides you which are the ports are open on the firewall of a target organization. It can be used even to do the operating system detections of a target device. It can even do the network mapping, find devices on the network, and create a complete visual map around that, just to know that particular network group, what sort of operating system devices are there, and how they are connected to a switch or a router. It is used many a time for network scripting engine. It can detect vulnerabilities in target systems. Ladies and gentlemen, PyCrypto is an amazing cryptographic service library freely available as a part of the Python libraries. It can be used for positive purposes to encrypt the data and do a backup, and you want to decrypt to restore the original form, you can do that. You can use the crypto libraries the PyCrypto library for secure hashing to verify the integrity of the datasets. Same time, it can be used for random number generation. Many of the APT attack or ransomware attack was actually using PyCrypto libraries to crypt the files and generate a large random numbers and asking you to pay the money. And they used to provide you the decryptor keys, those random generated number, which has been used for securing that particular file. So, ladies and gentlemen, there's always two sides of the story. Whether you want to do it for positive purpose, to a data backup, safeguard the data from any attacker, whether insider or outsider. And when you want to decrypt it, you can decrypt it, the backups, which has been cryptologically protected for backup purposes. You can decrypt it and you can have the data available for further work. At the same time, ransomware attackers, those who create the ransomwares, they use random number generations to crypt your packets, and they can misuse your packets, cryptographic keys, for actually locking the systems altogether. And you want to use those files, you have to pay money to the ransomware holders. Then they give you decryptor keys for unlocking the files. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Request is an amazing tool. It's a Python library for making any HTTP request. It's a very, very interesting capability for web reconnaissance. If you want to extract the information from the website without the need for web browser, you can scrub those capable components and you can find a lot of information at your desk. At the same time, it also can be used by attacker for automating attacks like SQL injection, remote file inclusion, etc. Web request can also be used for brute force attack, which can help automate login attempts on the web applications. So always there is a two-sided stories. Same libraries can be used for positive purpose, and it can be used for the negative purpose. So when you come to the beautiful soup, it's an amazing Python library for web scraping. Across the globe, those who are doing significant amount of web scraping for generating data to information and finally blending with human intelligence to generate actionable intelligence out of plethora of data which are available in internet. Beautiful Soup is an amazing library for data scraping from across the globe on a large internet available web pages. It can be used for web reconnaissance, scrap website to gather information like email IDs, URLs. Suppose you want to make a targeted search, you can find out only the email addresses. You can find specific set of informations which are there on the huge amount of web files available across the globe, and you can do a targeted scrapping of those words or sentences based on the matchings and utilize the web scraping capability in much more finer and granular level. It can be used for data mining and absolutely extract specific piece of information from the web. On millions of web, you can do the scraping same time. if it is those web files are not protected by against the bot robotic scraping, then possibly you can utilize that and you can generate significant amount of actionable intelligence out of that. It's an amazing tool for threat intelligence gathering. Suppose if you have a list of Twitter and Twitterati or the pestbin IDs with you, you can go and search for a specific piece of information, scrap those information, and get those information back to your repository for further analysis and developing an actionable intelligence or threat intelligence out of those piece of bunch of information against the targeted extractions from the web. So boys and girls, there is always two sides of the story. But as a good defender, it is always need to comprehend the use cases for these libraries for positive purposes. So just to recap, the SCAPI can be used to simulate the attacks on the network, to test defense and monitor certain level of packet patterns, and whether you are able to detect it or not. Your tools are capable of detecting those packet manipulations or not. Nmap, you can use it for knowing the port scanning of your own organization or the target organizations for positive purposes and find if these ports and the operating systems are vulnerable to a larger attacks down the line. PyCrypto can be used for protecting your data sets both at the database level, at the text level, to do the backups and do the safeguard it with crypto packets. So PyCrypto can be used for both encrypting and decrypting your data assets for more positive purposes. Request. If your web admins are there, they want to know the server logs and sign of automatic scripts are being run, it can be used for positive purposes. Beautiful soup. It's an amazing capabilities to do the automatic scrapping attempts and generate threat intelligence from the large web, which is absolutely unimaginable piece of information available on the internet. You can do a targeted search and find the actionable intelligence out of that. I don't use these libraries for negative purpose. Just I'll keep reminding you guys as we proceed in the classrooms. So when it comes to Impacket, it's very interesting, library. It's more focused towards network protocols like SMB or remote procedure call. Server message block or remote procedure calls are very important component for connecting to the network services across the environment, distributed computing environment. So when you look for, the services like SMB and DC, Impacket becomes a very important, tool for managing the entire network, management capabilities. So when you look into the components of Impacket, it's a collection of Python classes focused on providing access to network packets for security testing purposes. Same time on the Paramico, it's a beautiful capability for SSH, secured socket layer, capability for both client and server functionalities. And when it comes to the PySox, Python PySox client module, useful in proxying network traffic for anonymity purpose. Let's go into the details of all these three capabilities. Let's understand what are the various use cases that we can use it for Impacket. Let's start with Impacket. So Impacket is a Python library focused for providing network protocols like server message block, SMB, or remote procedure call, RPC, DCE for distributed computing environment. It's a versatile toolkit, absolutely versatile. It is used for authentication and session management purposes. It is used for network protocol operations. It can be used for negative purposes, pass the tickets and pass the hash attacks. If you look into a very important attack, once the systems are, your endpoint device is compromised, pass the hash capabilities. Technically, you can use the hash for connecting to your secure systems without passing your putting your ID and passwords. So it's if the token is grabbed by the malware, which use the capability of IMPACT, then basically this token can become useful for accessing the resources without any validations. It can even use for network relay attacks, which is NTLM relaying. NTLM authentication sessions are potentially relay them to another target to gain access to another systems. What happens, when these tickets are captured or the tokens are captured, then you don't require to do the authentication times and again. There is a life cycle for this, token, and during that life cycle, you don't have to really go and revalidate the systems again. You can use it for getting access to the critical systems without using the credentials. So many times when the attacker is sitting in your systems, already systems are compromised, they have already penetrated your systems, they don't have right how to access to your other component of the systems. They basically wait to grab tokens, and these tokens can be further for getting access to the system. If you look into a typical, malware-based attack, when a lot of passwords are there, secret dumping of this SAM database can be used using the IMPACT capabilities. So when you have, suppose if you have grabbed the golden tickets, golden ticket is the ticket for administrator. Suppose if this attack has happened on administrator systems, many times administrators makes the mistakes. They go to the internet with administrative rights, and a bad packets get into, or malicious components get into systems, and then the administrators, the key is access to the SAM database, and those SAM database, if it can be accessed by the malware, they can use the SAM database dumping into the systems, and it can be used even for the data exfiltration purpose. So golden or silver ticket attacks are very, very common using the capability for IMPACTs. Many times, you can do the network reconcile, file transfer, and execution, and many times IMPACT can be used even for network-based forensics capabilities from positive perspective. And a very important component of the defensive and forensic use cases for IMPACT is all about network traffic analysis, forensic analysis, network hardening capability can be used using IMPACT. When we go to the Paramico, Paramico is a Python libraries. Okay, it is for SSH version 2 protocol offering for both for the client and server perspective. So Python Paramico library is a very interesting library. It's a Maori word. The name derives from the components Maori word for Python Paramico. The library facilitates secure communication between machines, enabling the tasks or remote command executions. Suppose if I want to access from one system to another server, if I have to connect to the devices, we use SSH version 2 capability of Paramico, and then we go and do the remote code executions. For good purposes, it is used for secure file transfers, which is, takes like SFTP file transfer, which is secured file transfer protocols, which where the informations are carried from one system to another system in a very, very secure manner. It can also be used for interactive SSH sessions, where you are communicating with the server from the client systems and trying to, access the privileged access resources. You can use, Paramico for that purpose. Paramico can be used even for SSH tunneling and port forwarding. I'm sure that, you understand the word port forwarding and SSH, tunneling, because it was part of the network capabilities. So, SSH tunneling can be done through Paramiko. It's a good purpose, And Paramiko can be used even for the SSH server implementation, where many people in the organization can access to the servers, and from that server, they can use it as a host server for getting more privileged access and go to the server resources, and that server can be used as a SSH server. Many times, SSH key generations can be done using the Paramiko capabilities and handle public infrastructure configurations, deploy configurations, and restart services remotely. You can do that. When it comes to the negative part of Paramiko, it's an amazing tool actually. It can be used for brute force for SSH logins. And we'll go into detail of what does that mean, because we have a full exercise on brute force. And we might be looking Paramiko as one of the capability to use the brute force. Brute force is that, suppose if you don't have an ID and passwords and you want to do a dictionary attack, full dictionary you want to attack, and if the restrictions are not negative, done properly, then web resources you can do multiple time, using the various type of fermentation and communication of the passwords, using a dictionary attacks, and try to, crack the passwords and get access to the resources which are normally prohibited by ID and passwords. Same time, you can also use Paramiko for remote command execution post exploitations. So when the exploitation of a system has already happened, the control and command center in a particular moment, you want, a particular code to be injected in the system, they can use, remote code execution capability using Paramiko. And the worst is that, if the access is completely, available, and the, malware want to extract the information and make the information go to the control command center, Paramiko can be used even for data exfiltration purpose. SSH tunneling or pivoting, it is the same way. If I want to know how many systems are there connecting to these systems, and which can be accessed remotely, we can do that. Paramiko can be used even for gathering information within the network and provide a clear insight to the control and command centers if they want to know about it. And if the detections are not very, neatly done, then Paramiko can be a deadly tool for remote course executions as well as for manipulating the system configuration. And last is all about your lateral movements. From one system, suppose if I have already compromised, I want to move it to another systems and get compromised and try to find the golden ticket out of that, it becomes much easier using the Paramiko capabilities. Countermeasures are, very limited. You have multi-factor authentication, utilize it, because if the person is already access to the systems, if you don't have the zero trust network, and multi-factor authentication does provide you protections against that. When it comes to the PySOCs, let's understand what is PySOC. I'm sure that, when we have read the networking, we have understood the concept of SOC proxies. SOC proxies, both, SOC 4 or SOC 5 type of proxy protocols. It is technically used for traffic anonymization. Suppose, I want to get access to internet. Internet will come to know about my internal IP address from where I'm accessing. So if I go to the proxies, it uses the proxies, IP address, and my IP address are protected for any further, actions by the system which tries to know more about us. So if you use the PySOCs, technically you can achieve the traffic anonymization very easily. It does not allow the origin IP address, rather it replaces the address of the proxy systems, so that your original IP address is not susceptible to information by the place you are going to visit with your IP address. It also helps you bypass IP restrictions or geofencings. Sometime, a particular IP address is actually stopped from accessing your systems. PySOCs actually helps you enable bypass those geofencings, and you are able to access the resources by manipulating the informations there. And it is very easy to achieve, get access to the systems which are protected against geofencing. It can be used for circumventing the network filtering. So suppose if you type of IP address, the network filtering has been done. If you use PySOCs proxies, basically it bypasses those restrictions and it goes directly to the internet and many times it helps you bypass that capability. One more thing, it's a very important one, is compartmentalization of attack infrastructure. By separating different stages of attack through the different proxies, it becomes harder for defender to correlate all stages of the attack with single source. So many times compartmentalization of attack infrastructure can be utilized by the PySocs, and the defender will not be able to know about you because the IP address keeps changing and you will not be able to know about them and restrict the attacks. Many times control and command center, malware control and command centers are managed through the PySocs proxies. PySocs, the reason is very simple, because if the control and command center, suppose if I am the man who is actually running the malware and injected into your systems, you can reach back to me and then my identity get disclosed. So PySocs actually helps you doing the malware control and command centers communications without disclosing the name of the command control personnel. And that becomes very difficult for the defender to know who is my attacker. Many times layered proxies for enhancing immunity using PySocs, it becomes very difficult for defender to know about the attackers. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's very interesting. PySocs is definitely an amazing capability, both from the defensive as well as from the offensive. So, among the list of libraries, one of the very interesting libraries is Pillow. Pillow is that, is a code named for the word PIL, is a Python image library. Pillow is an amazing, library to work with the photographs, the images. Images, many times it is used for, editing images, manipulating images. And that is where, the use cases of negative component of a start with, Pillow as a library. So before I understand, you all understand how the manipulation happens, there are some components which we must understand to understand the Pillow libraries better. Okay. So there is a component known as steganography. Let's understand that before we go into Pillow. Steganography is a technique to hide information within some photograph. The many of the terrorist organizations or many of the government organizations in the past, they were using photograph for manipulating and sending information in a very open way without letting anybody know that something cryptic is there inserted inside that photograph. A photograph is made up of millions of pixels, small dots, and it's a combination of colors. Some base colors, which actually magnifies, goes into the various, colors. Now, out of the millions of, pixels that you have in a photograph, if one pixel is taken out, the color of that photograph does not change for a common eyes. And then if that particular, pixel is replaced with something embedded within the photograph, from the human eyes, it is impossible to gauge it. Steganography is an amazing technique for communicating secretive information in a public domain without not letting anyone know about it. It is a secret communication. In past, people used to communicate using these techniques, even in the olden days. The photograph will have, and many times this photograph has got encoded message which cannot be understood by the normal pair of eyes. So steganography is one of the techniques which is used for secret communications, and many times one of those pixels are replaced by malware payloads, and when you download the photograph, the payloads get downloaded in your systems very easily. So if you want to hide data or malicious payloads within the images, using Pillow, one can manipulate the least significant bit of an image or use steganographic techniques to embed secret data, which can then be extracted by an attacker or a malware. There is another, example use case for Pillow for creating phishing contents. So when you phishing content is like, sending in a mail to anybody and influence you for clicking some links or just downloading some photographs. So what happens, many times these photographs are passed through some algorithms at gateway level to detect if the phishing mails are there or not. And there are algorithms to find a phishing mails. If the photographs are similar in nature, they find it very easily. The Pillow can be used for manipulating the files, the image files, such a way that algorithms through which a photo can be used for detecting a potential phishing mail can be disabled, and the phishing mail will pass through the algorithms without knowing that it is a phishing mail. So generating a fake or deceptive image to be used in phishing campaigns is utilized by the attackers. Many times image-based exploits are sent, when you, many of the viral video or image contents does carry some of the malwares. And when you watch that particular piece of photographs, it get downloaded in your systems and sits in your system. If any privilege misuse have you seen in the system, then the malware is able to extract and get all the information out of your systems very easily. So Pillow is utilized for payload deliveries, for delivering the secret contents in offensive side. You can even document the exploits. You can use Pillow for bypassing the content filters, and it's very easy. And there is some very interesting components within the photograph, which is known as metadata files. Metadata files are legally kept in every photographs to prove in the court of law that this photograph is the original photograph and carries all these, set of information within the metadata, which includes even your machine names from which the photograph has been taken, which version of operating system the Nikon camera is using. It can even disclose your GPS locations, the longitude and latitude of that. And these files are known as EXIF files. These EXIF files are metadata files which can be taken out of those photographs using the Pillow command or Pillow libraries. And these PIL libraries can be used for data harvestings very easily. I'll give you another use case, very interesting use case. I'll not name the malware, what are the name of the malwares, but I'll tell you very interesting things. If the malware some way get downloaded into your systems, so whatever you type it out, many times these typed out contents are available on the screen. And if the contents are not hidden by cryptographic keys, then whatever is available for viewing in the machine on the display system, video display units, the malware can utilize the Pillow libraries for extracting those screenshots. They can take the screenshots and then carry out a bit of, information extractions out of that, and then send it to the control and command centers. So PIL libraries looks very simple, but actually it utilizes significant amount of, information can be extracted or can be passed on from one system to another systems without letting you know, or the investigator know about. The QR codes for social engineering is a very common tools. Normally, when you click the QR codes, you get certain information out of that, but it also extracts some of the information back to the owner. So QR code manipulations can be done with PIL, tool library, and that can be used for social engineering attacks, such as directing user to malicious website. Sometimes, you click the links, and instead of going to X side, it takes you to the Y side. and it looks everything same because QR code with your pair file, you can't say anything. Peel command is also used by attackers to bypass the CAPTCHA. I'm sure that all of you have embraced CAPTCHA. Whenever you do the net banking, it asks you to, it shows you a photograph, and that photograph you need to solve it. And when you put those information back to the, the web forms, then you get access to the systems. Pillow library can be used even for breaking those CAPTCHAs. It can do the real-time, image extractions, do the OCRs, and find the right answers and fill that into your web forms so that CAPTCHA can be bypassed. There are a huge amount of use cases for Pillow, and I'm sure when you start utilizing it, you can do even the image forensics using the Pillow tools. If you have got thousands of photographs, you want to do the image forensics, Pillow can be an amazing tool for gathering the EXIF data files from the photographs and do a real-time analytics out of that using some other libraries. And that can be really awesome, for doing the forensics investigations and creating even your tool for forensic investigation if you need to do so. There is another very interesting, library is PyPDF2. PyPDF2 is normally a PDF. If you want to manipulate the PDF file, read the files, write the files, you want to manipulate the PDF files, it can be used. While primary design was not to malicious purpose, like many other tools, libraries, its functionalities can be leveraged for the offensive in certain information cybersecurity context. PDF is the deadliest tool, I can tell you. It bypasses all the security features because PDF tools has got some, spaces, in the metadata, and those metadata manipulations can lead to traversing the payloads from one system to other systems very easily. Because, and I know that, many of the attackers, they give you free reports, PDF reports, and you are looking for that reports. And when you look for those reports, it becomes much easier for them to send the malicious file to your systems. And once it lands, the PDF file lands in systems, it actually downloads the payloads into your systems. And those PDF, file manipulations can be easily done using the PyPDF2, capabilities. It can be used for embedding malicious URLs. It can be used for malicious payload embedding. It can be used for watermark removals. Many times the watermarks are given in the PDF file. You want to remove it. Many of the attackers use that for watermark removals. It can even do the metadata manipulations because metadata accesses can be done through PyPDF2, and you can remove something and you can embed something inside the metadata file. You can use the malicious contents, merge malicious content to the legitimate PDF file to make the payload less suspicious, to user bypassing the content, bypass systems. And many times the content filters does not get clue of it that, there is something malicious files are going there. Many times it is used for harvesting extracting the text, URLs, and other from other PDF files found in the target environment. And then it extract the files and keep it in some place in the memory. When the data extraction start happening, they are able to send in bits and pieces. The data is transmitted outside the organizations. And many times PDF files are password protected. Have you seen that? So many times these password protected files, these passwords can be breached, and even the brute force, attacks can be used using PyPDF2 capabilities, and it can be utilized for bypassing your passwords, which is critical documents sometimes get extracted. Password protectors are there, and the users are able to do the brute force using PyPDF capabilities. There is something, very interesting things is Yara Python libraries, and Yara tools or Yara, rules are very important rules to understand the text and the binaries for detecting the potential malwares. But same time, Yara can be used for evading detections. It's it's a very interesting, use case. And in my, own days when I was doing the malware forensics and malware reverse engineering, I found traces of, Python library of Yara many a time in the one of the some of the brilliant malware advanced persistent threat, and it uses it so successfully that evading detections become much easier. And the most of the sandbox tools, they are unable to find any trace of it. Malware developers can test their malware samples against known error rules to see if their malware would be detected. If a match is found, then they can modify their malwares to evade detections. So many times HIARA rules are is used for detecting the malwares, and it can also be, find that whether it can be detected by the malware detection systems, and then a bypass can be designed for evading the detections. It can be used, advanced persistent group can use HIARA rules to identify specific software or data on the compromised systems, allowing them to focus on high-value targets for data exfiltrations. So many times, YARA rules are utilized for memory obfuscations or memory manipulations, which are, as a matter of fact, there are tools like endpoint detection response, which actually does the memory analysis to find if anomalous memory is there to detect the malware. YARA rules, can be utilized for obfuscating and doing the forensic countermeasures, YARA rules can be used for many times manipulating the compromised systems, and no traces are left using the YARA rules, doing the anti-forensics capability. And sometimes you can weaponize the actual legitimate files using the YARA rules, and it looks like a benign file, but actually it becomes a malicious file. So your rule engine does not find the benign files. It treats that the files are actuals and it is not malicious, while it becomes malicious and your tools are unable to detect it. It's a very interesting tools to profile the target environment. So if you have got sitting in the systems, you can see the memories, you can see what are the processes are being run. Then those processes can be tempered with your malicious, files, and can obfuscate the memories in such a manner that memory, evasions can be achieved using the YARA libraries. So YARA is the Python library, and YARA itself are also tools. While they can be employed for malicious purpose, they are overwhelmingly used for defensive and research purposes. Most of the malware, reverse engineering capabilities has got the PE final analysis. YARA rules really helps to achieve the defenders. Much bigger, options are available to them. Then comes to the DPKT, libraries, and DPKT Python libraries provides a fast, simple packet creations and parsing frameworks. DPKT library can be used for packet interceptions and packet analysis. At the same time, it can also be used for creating a malicious packets and parsing frameworks. It supports a variety of protocols, enabling users to dissect, construct, and manipulate the network packets programmatically. And while it's primarily used for network analysis and research, its capability can be utilized for various offensive cybersecurity context. One of the most important use case for it, packet crafting for exploits. Now I can as an exploit writer, I can utilize the DPKT libraries for actually obfuscating or creating a packet which are looks like a benign, and it does not get detected by the normal tools. And many times the penetration to the system happens through those packets, and later on those packets can be manipulated by the malwares down the line. It can be used even for the network reconcile purpose. You can create a packet to probe the network services, and you can find the fingerprints of operating systems and service versions. And then you can initial reconcile you can do using the DPKT, libraries. Very interestingly, there is something known as man-in-the-middle attacks. I'm sure all of you are aware about it. When somebody is sitting in your systems, you are actually, when you are accessing the systems to some sensitive sites, the hacker takes control of that. That control is known as man-in-the-middle attack. And many times it is done through the session hijackings or, similar processes. And at that point of time, if you want to change the packets, manipulate the packets, DPKT can be an amazing tool over there. There is very interesting thing, which has happened in the past. Many of denial of service, attacks by flood of packets to overwhelm the target services or network resources has been achieved through DPKT libraries. It can also use the protocol abuse. It looks like a protocols which are very, very benign nature, but actually it is sitting inside it, and such tunneling malicious traffic through the DNS and ICMP packets, which looks benign, but actually it is a malicious traffic which is coming to the systems. It can be used for session hijacking, analyze and manipulate TCP sessions to take over the established connections between the clients and servers, and then play around with that with the same tokens and accesses that have been given to the systems, and you can manipulate the systems in a big way. It is also used for control and command center communications. There's a malware communications. Suppose if your system is already compromised, the communication between the control and command center, the masters, happens through a very secretive packets, a benign packet which does not allow systems to know that it is a potential C2C communication. And many times the data exfiltration can happen through those communication channels. While the primary purpose for this was network traffic analysis, infiltrate and passively monitor network traffic to identify patterns, identify sensitive information, or decent types of applications are used within the network, and those information can become a very handy tool for further exploits by the control and command centers and the attackers at the other side. So every tool that you are finding, some good Samaritan capabilities, same time it can be utilized by the attackers by manipulating some of those capabilities. Coming to the volatility library, I don't know how many of you are aware about it. Volatility is an amazing framework for comprehending the volatile memory, which is RAM, random access memory. It's an amazing tool for memory forensics, and many of the tools, which is like in a tool like EDR, uses these capabilities, the libraries, and they try to find if anything malicious is happening in the memory. But same time, volatility can be used, for negative purpose. I remember that, when I started using volatility, I used it primarily for memory forensics capabilities, because whenever an attack happens, and a detection happens of a potential malwares or behaviors of that particular system exhibit the behavior of a malware, we used to capture them, used to use the volatility to find if there is anything malicious is happening in the processes. And then we used to find the traces of the potential malware and the compromise the system has had. But same time, beyond the investigations, there are a lot of things can be done for offensive purpose using the volatility framework. Offensive, use cases for volatility framework can be many actually. The post-exploitation analysis. After compromising system, an attacker can dump the memory of a machine and then use the volatility to extract sensitive data like password, tokens, or encryption keys. Now, if the volatility, is already available in the systems and libraries are already available, the malwares are already there in your systems, they can use volatility to gain access to the memory and find, because many times in the memory, everything remains in the clear text formats. Token can be grabbed. If you are having administrator, the golden tickets can be grabbed there, which can be utilized during the life cycle of that particular components. The tokens, the malware can use for doing significant amount of work, including the SAM database, which actually uses the ID and passwords of all the organization, entire organization, can be taken out using the volatility framework. So volatility frameworks are very, very powerful tools, which is used by the attackers, the malware writers. And many times, if you do not have the right, protection in place in your systems, this framework can provide amazing insight to the malware writer. It can be used for stealth and evasions. Suppose if you know that there are certain things, behavior can be detected by the memory forensics, you can actually obfuscate those components so that detections becomes next to zero. So it is like in building an anti-forensic capability. So the forensic tool users cannot find any trace of my presence in the systems. Volatility framework can be used even for that, actually. Many times the memory manipulations are done. A lot of insights gained from the memory analysis, running processes, facilitating persistence, further exploitations can happen through the memory manipulations capability. Profiling target systems. I want to know more about the systems. What are the processes are being run in the systems? Because tomorrow, if I want to manipulate one of those systems, the processes, we can use DPKT and volatility framework together to manipulate some of the memory capabilities. And later on, you can do even the counter forensics so that no forensic can be carried out on the memory data based on your capabilities. Many of the new generation advanced persistent threat uses this capability so that they remain undetected for years together. If you see the normal behavior of advanced persistent threat, better known as APT, many times this sits in your system for 4 to 5 years time without letting you know about the behavior and their presence. You can even use grab the tokens, the passwords in the plain text format, credential from the memory, and enable the attackers to bypass the authentication and mechanism for access the encrypted data. And that can become the most deadliest part of the attack using the bypassing the authentications. So, ladies and gentlemen, as the journey continues to the next layers, it's again word of caution for all of you that don't use it for negative purpose, use it for positive purpose, and learn more about those capability, how we can utilize those capability for defensive purpose. I think it's important to understand some more, libraries. Peach is a complete fuzzing framework which has been developed out of Python framework, and it does provides a lot of it helps generate a lot of fuzzy numbers for finding a bug in the software. Or many time when you develop a codes, you want to inject a lot of invalid codes to find out whether there is it reacts to the invalid code to find bugs in it. Nowadays, as a part of development cycles, a new method which is being used, which is known as DevSecOps. Now, DevSecOps has got many capabilities that need to be done, which includes first testings, static analysis, then dynamic analysis, and then doing the pen testing and find bug into the entire software system. Fudge, the Peach framework is definitely the first step, which is the first testings capability, and it's used for generating mutating data, which can be sent to the application to test if there is a bug into the system. Peach libraries are not. It's an amazing capability which provides a very robust framework for vulnerability discovery by providing invalid, unexpected, or random data to a software application's input to find issues and bugs. And these bugs are normally is known as vulnerabilities. While fudging itself is a well-established method in software security, it can be used for both offensive as well as for defensive purposes. Normally, it is used for finding the bugs, discovery of vulnerabilities. As an attacker, you can find what bugs is there in the systems, and then later on, then you can exploit that bugs. The second stage, which you can use these fuzzing libraries for the exploit development, because normally when the exploits are written, fuzzing techniques are purposely used that every time it generates different behavior. so that it cannot be detected by the tools, the point of tools deployed at this point of time for detecting the vulnerabilities. Once a vulnerability is identified, fuzzing can be used for the more targeted way to refine the exploits, ensuring it works reliably and the tools are unable to detect it. Very interestingly, many of the researchers for vulnerabilities uses this fuzzing capability to find zero-day discovery. I don't know how many of you are aware about zero-day discovery. Zero-day discoveries are those findings of vulnerabilities where there is no countermeasures available for that during the intervening period. What does that mean? Which means that there is a vulnerability is available in the systems and there is no countermeasure available at that point of time, so that it can be exploited without any restrictions. So many of the researchers, those who are in, vulnerability development cycles, and they want to find the bugs into a software, they use, the pitch fuzzing framework for finding the vulnerabilities attached to that. Many times when you find there is no countermeasures are available and a particular type of vulnerability is leading to denial of service, then the same technique can be utilized for doing a denial of service capabilities against that program, where the inputs can be manipulated, used maliciously to create a denial of service conditions, and that condition will lead to denial of service against those that, for the normal user, those who want to get the services out of that software or the web portals which are available at that point of time. Very interestingly, fuzzing technique can be used for manipulating the protocols. Now, suppose if one particular protocols are there which are genuinely available and it is being utilized by the organization. So if you use the same protocol but manipulate the core of the protocols so that it cannot be detected by the protocol analysis, and it allows execution of the commands within the environment, then that sort of protocol abuse can potentially leading to a system compromise or data leakages without any protections. You can also manipulate the file formats. Once identified, malicious files can be crafted to exploit these vulnerabilities when the target software tries to open the process of the file. Now, if you have manipulated the file, then the process will go and open the file and the manipulations will happen in real-time environment. So Peach is, framework is a good framework to find the bug in the softwares, even find the zero-day vulnerabilities if you are a researcher and make huge money out of that. Because zero-day researchers are highly paid people, because when bugs are found and there is no countermeasure available, there are a lot of government agencies are ready to pay you money for that. And if the bugs are really good, they pay you millions of dollars out of it. There are organizations like ExploitDB and other companies, those who have been created only for zero-day tradings, and they make millions of dollars out of that. And I promise you, if you have found the bug, zero-day bug, if you have it, please let me know. This can be an amazing way of making money in the market. But don't sell it to your adversary countries like Pakistan and China. Use it for your own purpose, where the government of India can use it against nefarious actors if there is a need for it. There is another framework, is a very interesting framework. It's a twisted framework. It's a widely used event-driven networking engine written in Python. Its main use to facilitate the development of internet applications, including clients, servers, and many network protocols. Twisted support various protocols, including TCP, UDP, SSL, TLS, HTTP, IMAP, ISSH, IRC, and many other protocols, networking protocols. Now, as it supports many protocols, it can also be used for manipulating those protocols to carry out an attack in the critical environment. Rightly so, many of the malware writers, authors who manage the control and command centers, servers, they actually use some of these capabilities for control and command center, communication purposes. It can be used for a very good network reconciliation capabilities, because as it supports various protocols, you want to know which are the protocols which are there and how it can be manipulated. You can use the initial information gathering for any organization, and you can use Twisted framework for that purpose. You can even do a man-in-the-middle attack, leverage the ability to create servers and clients. Twisted can be used to intercept, relay, and potentially modify the network communications and send the malicious packet back to the server side for further exploit. As it uses almost all the protocols. It can be used for protocol abuse, where everything will look like a protocol, but actually malicious payloads are traversing through that actually. Traffic evasion and obfuscation, because it uses a very good network capabilities. An attacker might use Twisted to develop custom communication protocols or to obfuscate a traffic in order to evade detections from intrusion detection and prevention systems or any other network monitoring capabilities. And it can be in amazing capabilities. Many of the new generation protocols are written using Twisted framework, and it can be a very handy tools for a proprietary protocol developments. That is a positive use for that, Tunneling and pivoting, you can do it. You can automate the entire attack cycles. Given its programming flexibility, Twisted can be used to automate various attack stages, from initial scanning to exploitation to data expectation phase of it. It is in the layer of 7 stages of network attack. It can be used at any places. There is a very interesting library is Capstone. Capstone is a very interesting library. It is a multi-platform disassembly framework, and it supports various architectures. It is not restricted to one architecture. It supports various architectures. It provides detailed information about disassembled instruction and used in reverse engineering capabilities. If you are a malware reverse engineer, Capstone can be a very lightweight, handy, multi-platform disassembly framework for your journey. Many times we use some framework developed on top of it, but as an open source capability, Capstone library can be utilized for that purpose. Capstone can be used for binary analysis. It can be used for exploit development, because by understanding the precise instruction and flow of vulnerable programs, attackers can craft exploit that take advantage of software vulnerabilities. Trust me, once you know the software vulnerabilities, then exploit journey become much easier. It can be used even for the vulnerability discovery from positive side of it, and negative side of, if you know what is the vulnerable component of it, you can exploit that down the line. It can be used even for the cell code analysis. And I'm sure some of you are aware about cell codes. It employed, Capstone can be employed to disassemble and study the behavior of the cell codes, aiding in the creation and modification of the cell code for a specific needs. Now, the cell codes which are being utilized within the organizations, if a small modification happens there and it remains undetected, it becomes genuine, a benign, components, and then, it can be utilized for offensive purposes. Many times, Capstone can be utilized for software patch analysis, and you can also find the vulnerabilities in it, and which attacker can use tools like Capstones, compare and patch the components very easily. Interestingly, Capstone can be used for firmware analysis. If you understand the embedded systems which works on the firmware, and having the capability to extract and disassemble firmware, Capstone is to identify potential vulnerabilities or backdoors in the firmware code, which can be used as a countermeasures and also it can be used in attack purposes. Ladies and gentlemen, the journey continues. The next one is the WireShark. WireShark, libraries of Python, it's a very widely used libraries for packet interception as well as for analysis of the packet. It's a full-fledged library in its own. It's a full-fledged tool. It's a packet capture tool, and it also uses for protocol analysis. What it uses, the tool uses is two components. It's a lib library pcap, lib pcap, or it's like a Unix-like system. Or if it is a Windows system, it uses WinCap or npcap. It helps, organization to find an open source tools to do the protocol analysis or the packet analysis for furthering the journey for potential detections of a malware. Interestingly, these two capabilities, these two libraries, lib libraries, npcap libraries, or WinCap, pcap libraries, can be utilized for offensive use cases as well. It can be used for eavesdropping and data interception. It can be used for intercepting the data and further analysis. If it is in clear text format, it does not have any SSH or SSL, traffic. You can connect those data sets and you can analyze the data sets for furthering the goal of capturing the packets. You can also find the protocol vulnerability discovery by examining how many different devices or applications communicate on a network. Attacker can identify non-standard or vulnerable protocol implementations. I can give an example. Suppose if your environment is using Telnet, or it is using port 80 command for internal communication, means there is no internet, no encryptions are there at the communication layer. If I have got precise information about that, then we can do the interception of packet at one of the network node. And if we are able to extract or exfiltrate those data out of the network, then a major information can be leaked out for organizations. It can be used even for session hijacking, man in the middle attack. And it can also be used for finding man in the middle attack verifications. It can be used even for network device impersonation. By studying the details of the protocol, handshakes, and communication, that is DHCP negotiation, attackers can craft packets that allow them to impersonate a device or services on the network. If I know a particular IP address are being used, if a particular MAC address are being used, you can manipulate that and you can look and feel that it is a genuine device and impersonate a device, and then you can do a communication with the system. So, ladies and gentlemen, there are many, more than 100 of them. I'm sure that, the journey will continue for next 2 hours, 3 hours time. But let's go to the next slide and understand more about some more, libraries, which can be handy for you for active cyber defense as well as for passive cyber defense. Same time, you can use it for offensive purposes. Here we, continue to the next slide. So as we learned about the WireShark library of Python, I think the next important one is PyShark. It is very close to the WireShark. PyShark is a Python library that provides a programmatic interface to the WireShark packet analysis tool. There is a tool known as TShark. There is another tool which are available as open source. It's very close to that tool, and it has got all the capability that TShark has over the WireShark. So technically, PyShark, it helps allow user to parse, analyze, manipulate packet captures within Python scripts. So everything can be done within the Python scripts. And by tapping into the WireShark powerful dissectors, PyShark enables sophisticated packet analysis without having to deal with complexity of raw packet data. Now, what happens when you take the WireShark, you take the raw packet data, then you have to do further analysis on top of that. So the PyShark with the machine learning capability that you have built in, other library like Pandas, NumPy, this can provide you an amazing, interface with absolutely extraordinary capabilities to dissect the raw data and get the insight out of it in a format which can be understood by the human being. And if you want to automate the entire process, there is nothing better than the PyShark. So let's understand, some of the deep offensive use cases of PyShark. If you want to do the network reconnaissance using an automated process, PyShark technically provide you all the capabilities. If you want to do the traffic analysis and profiling, PyShark can easily provide you an amazing insights on top of the WireShark. Now, suppose if whatever unencrypted informations are traversing within the network, if you have used that capabilities, particularly most of the organizations, internally they communicate in a clear text format. They use port 80, or the many times, the inside the network, they keep the, information in clear text format for seamless and faster access. Now, if you can capture the data and you can use the PyShark scripts, it can automatically extract sensitive informations like credentials, which are transmitted unencrypted on the network. It can be used even for the exploit detections and automation process. Adversary can craft the script to detect vulnerable patterns or behaviors in network traffic and potentially automate the exploitation process. PyShark can be a handy tool to intercept the packet and take the essence out of it in a smaller chunk of information, not the raw data which are in bulk available, a small part of that data which are actually actionable intelligence and help you exfiltrate those informations in a much easier way. So covert data exfiltration can be done through a covert communication channel or data patterns, enabling still the exfiltration of data without much of challenges within the network. PyShark can be used even the session analysis and hijacking. If PyShark can be programmatically identify and analyze session tokens or cookies, enabling automated session hijacking. For encrypted traffic, where the keys are known to the accessible, attacker can leverage PyShark to decrypt and analyze such traffic on the fly, extracting valuable information. Many times, a combination of many tools result into a full-fledged advanced persistent threat. So if you have the memory forensic tools, you can find the crypto keys from the memory, and you can utilize for parsing and decrypting the network traffic using the PyShark. A combination of these two can be a very handy tools for actually not only decrypting and parsing, but also carrying out the complete session analysis and hijacking. Once the malware is in the position of MITM position, man in the middle attack position, adversary can use PyShark to programmatically intercept, inspect, analyze, and upon relayed data, enhancing their control over the attack. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, PySARK provides so much deeper capabilities than just WireSARK. And if it can be combined with other, capability, a full-fledged advanced persistent threat can be created, and which can help extract many of the information which are secret or sacred in nature. Next one is M2 crypto keys. Okay, it's a comprehensive Python library that offers a rich set of cryptographic and SSL TLS operation. It provides a Pythonic interface to the OpenSSL libraries, allowing users to implement cryptographic functionalities within their Python application. While cryptographic libraries like M2 Crypto are totally used for enhancing security in the hands of a malicious actor, they can also be used for offensive purpose. Let's understand what are the different type of work we can do with M2 Crypto. It can be used for data interception and decryption. If an attacker captures the encrypted communication that has access to the necessary keys, they can use M2 Crypto to decrypt the intercepted data. So suppose if you have, memory forensic capabilities and you use the Python crypto keys, to a combination of M2 Crypto and memory, forensic capability working together can allow you to extract the golden keys or, crypto libraries or, crypto keys. And then you can do the interceptions using M2 Crypto. And you can do the payload encryptions or decryptions on a real-time basis. Interestingly, as an attacker, you can use it for M2 Crypto to encrypt the malware's communication or payloads, making it more challenging for intrusion detection prevention system to identify the malicious traffic. If you don't have the advanced capability of detecting the, there is something known as, you can search on the Google on that, dynamic SSL offloading capabilities. If you don't have in your organization, in that case, M2 Crypto can be a handy tool for you. Attackers can use M2 Crypto to encrypt their malware communication or payloads, make it almost impossible for intrusion detection system or prevention system to identify a malicious traffic. If the traffic is going in clear text format, it's much easier to do it. But if it is using the crypto keys, and you are putting a layer on top of that, then detection by the IDS and IPS becomes negligible. And if you are using the fuzzing technique, which we have discussed in the past, a combination of, random key generation can make the detection almost next to impossible. It can be used for data manipulation. It can be used for the forgery. The library can be used to forge digital signature if the attacker has stolen private keys out of that. You can create a fake digital certificate. And if you are able to connect the dots, the crypto keys from memory or from some other places, then you will be able to do the forgery attack. This can be used to impersonate legitimate server or users, leading to man-in-the-middle attack or data breaches. It looks like so genuine that it is impossible to detect the attack. Many times it can be used for password crackings. In situations where hash passwords are leaked or discovered, attacker can use the cryptographic capability of M2 Crypto to aid to the brute forcing or dictionary attacks. We'll learn a little bit of that, may not go to the M2 Crypto based attacks, but we'll definitely learn dictionary attacks or brute force attacks in days to come. SSL and TLS encryption, interception, secure covert channels creation, random number predictions. Random number predictions is an amazing way. If you can predict what will be the next number in the random number generator and you can generate your own token, then you are finished. Then all the one-time password that you are having in place If you are able to predict it, then one-time generation, you can predict it, and your next token, you can use it that. So even you are having multiple, MFA, multi-factor authentication in your organization, if the OTP can be mimicked and predicted, then your MFA is broken into pieces. There is another, very interesting library, which is known as Pinnacle. It is NaCl, but actually it is known as Pinnacle. It's a Python binding to the libsodium library, which is a modern, easy to use software library for encryption, decryption, signature, password hashing, and more. While designed to bolster security, virtually any cryptographic library has potential to be misused scenario in the context of cybersecurity. Malicious actor can use Pinnacle to encrypt and decrypt communication between malware and its command and control server, making it more challenging for intrusion detection system or intrusion prevention system to identify and block malicious traffic. Pinnacle can be used for ransomware. And, I remember that more than 15-20 ransomware attack we have seen where Pinnacle has been used for actually securing the encryption and generating random numbers, to such a size that it is impossible to crack it. Pinnacle can be used even for hash cracking many times, in case where the hash passwords are leaked or discovered, attackers could leverage Pinnacle functionally to assist brute forcing or dictionary attacks to attempt recover original passwords. Tampering and repackaging software. Malicious actor can modify software, re-sign it with a stolen forged key, and then redistribute or distribute the tampered software, making it appear legitimate. Ladies and gentlemen, supply chain attack, which is happening very rampant nowadays. Pinnacle is definitely a pinnacle of success for that. Many of the open source software, which are tampered and repackaged software, is being pushed into the 100,000, organizations, and then the payloads are delivered to the organization without any control. Pinnacle can be used to develop payloads that exploit vulnerabilities in cryptographic implementation or logic in target application systems. So Pinnacle is being utilized in a big way for supply chain attacks. At least 3 major supply chain attacks has used Pinnacle as one of the, way of, providing the access to 100,000, organization at one time. Ladies and gentlemen, next one in the cycle is a very interesting component, which is known as PyDome. PyCryptoDome libraries is self-contained Python package of low-level cryptographic primitives, serving as a drop-in replacement for the now defunct PyCrypto. PyCrypto, we have discussed it. Now PyCryptoDome is the replacement for that. It offers a wide range of cryptographic options, such as encryptions, hashing, public key operations. And like any public cryptographic libraries, PyCryptoDome is primarily designed to security enhancement, but when in hands of the malicious user or actors, it can be repurposed for offensive purposes. PyCryptoDome's attackers can use PyCryptoDome to encrypt and decrypt command and control communication, making it difficult for IDS or IPS to detect. Same capability that PyCrypto was there. It is an outdated library. Now PyCryptoDome has replaced it. So data encryption for ransomware is PyCryptoDome is the latest, 4.5 ransomware. PyCryptoDome has been utilized for that purpose. If you have access to the passwords where a lot of hashes are there, you are unable to crack it, password hash cracking tools, PyCryptoDome can be utilized for that purpose. You can perform brute force or dictionary attacks to deduce the original passwords if the hashes are available in your environment, then using PyCryptodome for brute force attacks is much easier. Like any other crypto libraries, secure data interceptions and manipulations are possible with this. Bypassing security mechanism is possible. Creating a covert channel so that, control and command communications are happening through covert channel. Many of the malware does use, PyCryptodome as one of the way to get inside your systems and do the create a covert channel within the organization. So boys and girls, the Parsley is another very important Python library that provide various password hashing and authentication related function. Basically, it is used for, any password hashings and for doing an authentication and authorizations, you can use this libraries. It is used by many of the corporates to build the entire hashing and authentication functions. Its primary purpose is to help developers securely handle users' passwords, and by providing easy to use interface for tasks like password hashing, password verification, password policy enforcements. Passlib is commonly used to enhance the security for user authentication system. But you know that, the attackers know how to misuse it. So password library, the Passlib is also used for password cracking. Let's understand that how it does. Passlab can be used to generate hashes of commonly used passwords, dictionary words, or variation of those passwords. These hashes can then be used to perform brute force attack against systems that are not properly secured, attempting to crack user passwords. You won't get now, most of the organizations, they don't allow brute force to be used in the system, but if somebody is not done it correctly, then possibly Passlib can be a good handy tool for you. Passlib can be, attackers can use Passlib to hash list of unknown usernames and passwords. And then they can attempt to use these pre-hashed credentials in credential stuffing attacks against various online services to gain unauthorized access. I'm not sure whether you know that rainbow table generation, but rainbow tables are pre-computed tables of hashes for a wide range of possible passwords. While Passlib is not designed for this purpose, attackers could potentially use its generate custom rainbow tables for specific password hash algorithms, making password cracking more efficient. Password spraying is another very interesting technique for cracking a password. In password spraying attacks, attackers use a small set of commonly used passwords against a large number of usernames. You'll be surprised, there was a very interesting study has been carried out by one company, and I got access to the report. I'm talking about around 15 years back. Little old man, so normally, it's old stories. So it was very interesting to see that 635 passwords has been used by almost 80% of the people across the globe. I'm talking about 15 years back. It may not be the true, but still password 123 is the most common passwords used by any one of them. So password spraying attacks, if you know those 635 passwords, you can generate a complete, rainbow tables or used password against a large number of usernames. Then Passlib could be used to hash these passwords and then attempt to authenticate against various systems. So Passlib libraries, is a security library. It could be used for combination with other tools for malicious purpose. For example, it could be integrated into a phishing kit or a credential harvesting tools for better manage stolen credentials. In a part note, while Passlib can be misused in this way, but normally, the attackers find ways to misuse it rather than use it for rightful purpose. So when it comes to the next one, Radar 2, it's not a, library per se. But Radar 2 is an open source reverse engineering framework and tool sets primarily used for analyzing binary files, such as executables, libraries, and firmware. Its main purpose is to help security researchers, reverse engineers, and programmers understand the inner working of the software, identify vulnerabilities, and analyze malwares. While there is always, good thing to do, while Radar 2 has legitimate and ethical use in the field of cybersecurity and software analysis, it can as always happens, it can be used. Legitimate and unethical user can do something more. So reverse engineering is one of the, way the Radar tools are misutilized, and it uses the interface of Python, some of the Python libraries. Radar 2 is commonly used to analyze the malware samples to understand their functionality and communication pattern and potential threat level. It can be used for developing the countermeasures, but at the same time, malware analysis can helps, finding something extraordinary in the systems and then misuse that system for the illegal and unusual purposes. So many of the malware creations, just as Radar 2 can be used to analyze malware, it can also be used to develop malicious software by reverse engineering legitimate applications, modifying them and repackaging them with malicious codes. Many times, the supply chain attacks where the open source security tools are there, which you are taking it, you think it's a genuine tool and you use it on your organizations, but actually it is repackaged and send it there. And you are actually playing with the malware, you are not aware about it. So it can be used for exploit creations. Malicious actor could use Radar 2 to reverse engineer vulnerable software, identify security weakness, and develop exploit to compromise system that have never been properly patched, or many times zero-day component can be done with that. So zero-day exploits, Radar 2 could be used to analyze software and identify previously unknown vulnerabilities, 0 days, which could then be exploited by the attackers before patches are available. It can be used for obfuscation purpose also. So malicious developers can use Radar to obfuscate their codes. So the codes are hidden, so you will not be able to, making it difficult to the security tools detect and analyze their activities. It can be used by the packers and cryptors. Radar 2 can be used to analyze and modify packers and cryptors, which are techniques used to hide the true nature of malicious file. And it will look like a genuine benign files, but actually it is a malicious file and it is not getting detected by the systems which are there to protect you against the attackers. Again, Binwalk is an open source tool designed for analyzing binary files, especially the firmware, images, and embedded system. But, with a powerful, capability of Python, you can embed these capabilities, and it can be used for legitimate or illegitimate purpose. If you look into the exploit part of it, vulnerability exploitations is definitely one of those capabilities that you can utilize it. Malware creation, you can do it. You can create backdoor insertions. Attacker could use Binwalk to analyze firmware, identify the opportunity to insert hidden backdoors or unauthorized access mechanism. It can help you in exploit developments. Binwalk could be used for the wrongful purpose. And it can be used for digital attacks. Analysis of binary files with Binwalk could be part of your reconcile activities in preparation of digital attacks down the line. VVSect, is again, it's a very interesting capabilities. It is a Python library and a framework designed for analyzing, dissecting binary files, particularly the executable files. It provides a flexible and extensible platform for reverse engineering and analyzing binary codes. VVSect allows the researcher and analyst to explore the internals of executable files, understand their behavior, and identify potential vulnerabilities attached to that. And that is where the attacker uses it for wrongful purpose. So technically, Vivisect can help you disassemble the binary code, providing human readable assembly instruction that can help understand the functionality of the program, analyze flow controls. Vivisect can analyze the control flow of programs to identify loops and conditional statement and function calls. While it is primarily built for malware analysis, but many times, the malware writers utilize it for understanding and repackaging the codes, the malicious codes within the systems. Reverse engineering capability of Vivisect, the beautiful Python library, can be used to do the reverse engineering to find where the bugs can be fitted in so that it becomes a benign and not a malicious file, and which can bypass the security tools across the systems. So if you look into the every time, boys and girls, there are millions of, software libraries are there, a lot of open source tools are there, and Python helps, connect the dots, and you can use Python's deep inherent qualities, the libraries, millions of libraries, to manipulate many of the tools and automate the attacks or detect the attacks in the genuine cases. So, ladies and gentlemen, while we tried our best to cover as many libraries as possible, but it's not possible to finish all of them at one shot. So our journey for offensive Python has just continued. It has not concluded. We'll do some practicals around that. But before we start the practical, we must understand the capability of these libraries. It's not readily available anywhere, nor I'm going to provide you all of them. This video you need to watch at least 3 times, 2 to 3 times, and then in your Python, try to see whether all libraries are there or not. There is a pip command, pip command is there. We can utilize pip command. If it is not there, you can fetch those libraries. If it is libraries, genuine libraries, I've discussed about some tools also within that. So you won't get it there. You need to download the open source. I'll tell you how to do that. Don't do it. The things, whatever is there, Python, learn it, understand the libraries. Search for those libraries in the internet and try to know more about it. We'll take a break today here because it's going to be long for all of you to continue. My suggestion will be at least 3 times have a look of the libraries, understand the concept. Some of the concept you may not understand directly from videos. Listen to those words, search in the Googles, create a note out of that. The right thing to do is to create a note. When you listens to my sessions, try to create the note. The videos will be there on the YouTube, so you can utilize that, re-listening 2-3 times before you conclude. Many of these libraries, you might require to do some homework. You have to check whether the libraries are there in your Python libraries or not. If it is not there, use the pip command and install those, libraries and keep it ready for you for practicals. We are not going to start the practicals soon because at least it will take 3 sessions to finish all the libraries, because compiling all the libraries in one place has never been done. It has never been attempted by anybody. We are trying our level best to keep everything handy for you. Once you know how it can be used, I'm very confident. My young generation, boys and girls, and some of the teachers, they're brilliant. They'll be able to utilize some of this benefit for the benefit of the nations. So my session will be explore in your systems more about it. Search in the Googles, search in the DuckDuckGo, and try to find out more information about it and try to compile it as a paper document. So you might have heard around 30-40 of libraries details today. My suggestion will be prepare a notes. That's a homework for all of you. Day after tomorrow, before the next session begins, you have to upload those files in a PDF format You can do it in Word format as well. If you want to do it in Word format, feel free to do it in Word format. Do it in Word format. Don't do it in PDF format. Do it in Word format so that the need for editing further will be able to do that. So there will be a practical exercise for you for each of the libraries. Go find the details from the net. Try to jot down as much information as possible and put it in Word documents and place it in the Google form, which will be supplying you a link tomorrow. So before we start the session day after tomorrow in the evening 6 p.m., my request is that you must submit it, the homework, on all the libraries that you have seen so far, detail of that, how it can be utilized, whatever you have found the information, plug it together, 10, 15, 20, 30 pages of information, and put it in a Word file directly to the link we'll be sharing to you today or tomorrow. Your journey for offensive has just begun. Many of you could not give the exams on networking. Boys and girls and ladies and gentlemen, we have not charged you money for the course. We have charged only for your certificate. If you don't pass the exams, you don't get the certificate. But learning is still free. You can continue over here. Many of you are not completed your network test and the Python test. Many of you have not completed the Code Tantra test, even though you have paid the money, which we have given you freely available for that. More than 15 tests are there on Code Tantra. Many of you have not even attempted there. And some of you come to us and say that, why don't you allow us to do the retest? I could not do it. Ladies and gentlemen, when you write an exam in your college, do you get extra time for that? I gave you 3 days time to write the exams. If you have not done it, it's your mistake and you must apologize for that. Before arguing with me and my team that why you are not allowing me to rewrite the exams. I was not well. I had 100 reasons not to do it. But I don't find a single reason for 1 hour test you could not finish in 72 hours time, even though the exam test was launched on 14th, 15th, full 48 hours time was there with you and you could not write the exams. No excuses. When you are in college, if you are a teacher or a student, when the exams are conducted, you have to give the exams. If you're not doing it, don't try to put a blame on us. You have paid the money, it does not give you the rights to scold us and argue with us. We are very cordial and very open for your feedback. It doesn't mean that we are open for anything that you want to chat with me. Please stop it. It's a fault at your side and you need to fix it. 72 hours, and if you don't write the exam, don't try to put a blame on us. Classes are free. Please attend the classes. Don't expect a certificate if you have not written the exams. And don't argue with me. Don't chat with me. I'm not going to entertain any chat about networking exam anymore. If you have not passed the exams, you will not get the certificate, whether you like it or you don't like it. You have paid for the certificate, which is not free. You have to earn it. You have to write all the exams that we are supposed to do. Many of you have not completed the exam on Code Tantra and writing when I'll get the certificate, when the class will end. Class was supposed to be ended on 14th August. Why did I give time to you people? Because you are not finishing the readings on time. I ask you to go through the entire content of Python and write the exams. 79% of you have not passed the exams, even though content has been given to you in writing. Ask your questions to yourself, whether you are given pre-content in the classrooms. Pre-reading contents are given in the classrooms. Give me an answer. If you have yes or no, please send a text to me. And then you have a class where the videos, the contents are shared. Then there is an exam. You don't pass the exams. Videos are available. We are available for 2, 3 days, 4 days, 20 days time. You could not go through the video again and again. If you don't pass the exams, you don't get the certificate, but learning is free. Still, you can continue and keep watching the video till the last time. Where in any case, I'm not going to make you world-class cyber engineer, cyber defense engineer after finishing the course. It is just a foundation stone, a good, stepping stone, which will help you build a house on top of it. We have a bunch of courses that we are giving to you is worth around $8,000 to $10,000. The next course we have already announced. I don't know how many of you have seen it. If not seen it, please have a look of it, because that will provide you an insight that what sort of course. As I uttered, a chain of very highly informative and very costly trainings are available for all of you for free. Not the certificate. Certificate you need to earn. If you want to join our next course on digital forensics with Kali Linux, on entire country and entire world, nobody teaches you this. We are the only organization who is conducting this training, and it is almost like a free course. If you need a certificate, you might need to pay some 500 or $1,000 rupees like that. This is a complex engineering course which starts with Linux. If you are zero in Linux, you can start from zero and we'll make you hero in Linux. And then we'll take you to the next generation, digital forensics with Kali Linux. The course is available online or our Cyber Vidyapeeth Foundation's website, cybervidyapeeth.in/forensics, and you will have access to the course. It's starting from 16th September. This course that you are going through will finish by 25th. Many people have asked the questions around that. By 25th, we'll finish the course. That will give you a good stepping stone to go to the next generation trainings. Then you have got another very, this course, which comes from SANS, it costs you around $10,000. And there is another course which is on open source intelligence, which we are doing it at just 1,000 rupees. Just 1,000 rupees we are doing it. And you go to visit our website, cybervidyapeeth.in, and this is available online. It is not free. This course is not free for any one of us. You have to pay 1,000 rupees for this course. The total course fee for this are two SANS course, $487 and $497. Together, the cost is around $15,000, $16,000, $17,000. This course is available for just 1,000 rupees. Because we are concerned, government need lakhs of people with these skills, but no organization is teaching it across the country. Many of you are teachers, please ask these questions. Do you teach open source intelligence using any tool? Python is just one such tool. In any educational entity in the country? None. There's only one organization, SANS, teaches us online, and many of the courses of SANS are worth around $15,000, $16,000. This course together, $487 and $497, you can go and search on the internet. The course fee together is almost around $17,000. Contents are absolutely speak and span. Same content will be sharing you worth around 20,000 worth of contents along with this course, which can not only help you learning this OSINT, but it will also help you if you want to do a PhD in this subject. If you are interested to do a research on this subject, I'll be personally available with you at any point of time. If you want to be a scholar on this space, most of my work that I have done in the last 20 years' time, it's an open source intelligence space. I'll be able to provide you bulk of books, study materials, open source books, whichever is available with me, is worth around 3 lakh pages of information. If you want to do further research on top of this course, I'll be more than happy to help you with that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being part of this journey of offensive security, and definitely look forward to many of you on open source intelligence, because again, it starts with Python and it goes into deep inside the Python for open source intelligence. And we'll do significant amount of at least 20 practicals you'll be doing, and you'll building 20 small scripts based tools on your own at the end of the session. This is an awesome content, and your forensics, it's needed by this country. Every police station need one forensics resources, not for taking it to the court of law, but for doing the investigation on a real-time basis. If you are a professional, you can set up a SOP with these capabilities. Even if you don't have a degree, you can still set up learn it, from scratch, as we are teaching you from scratch, zero to hero type of programs. And you can have your own SOP, and you can connect with 10, 20 police stations. They will give you things for investigation. Based on this training, you will be able to do the real-time investigation in many cases. All the best. Look forward for the next sessions. You have to do a practical, all the library that I have taught you today, you need to make a presentation or a complete documentations, minimum 10 pages of documentation, all the library, what the library is, what is the benefits this library provides, and how it can be utilized for offensive purposes. Create a nice sort of booklets. Send me in a document format, MS Doc or Google Doc format on Google Forms. And we'll connect again day after tomorrow with more libraries, more funds, more interesting information about Python library for offensive and defensive security. God bless you all. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.